Test, test. We in it, boys. In it to win it. Let me get the shares out. Oops. There we go. Maybe hit go live a little too soon. Man, people hit me with new stuff all over the place too that we got to cover. It's going to be a long show today, boys. Detroit sending all the info over. So some of these I'm not going to actually know anything about, and some of them I will, and we'll just go from there. Let's get rid of that tab. And last place to post. There we go. Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I go by Blind Run on the internet and Matthew in real life, but you know, let's go with Blind Run most of the time. Otherwise, I don't respond online. I'm just saying, it feels weird. Anyways, that aside, today we have a ton of topics. Obviously, as the title states, we had a crypto mining facility in New York blow up and catch fire. We have a computer scientist unveiling rapid energy efficient Bitcoin mining algorithms. We have Rich Dad Poor Dad author saying to save Bitcoin, gold, and guns, a global disaster is unfolding. The China ban on Bitcoin mining isn't working. We have more information on that. We talked about it last week as well. Shopify is now utilizing Crypto.com to assist with payments. And GameStop has unveiled their crypto and NFT wallet as well. We also have the AMD Ryzen 7000 CPU basically going to 5.5 gigahertz while gaming. And then we have a few miner releases, including NB Miner, T-Rex, and LML Miner, all doing launches over the weekend or early this morning. Let's get into it right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs quickly while earning up to 8% cash back. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. And welcome back. The camera has died on me. Let me get it fixed. Technical difficulties today. Boom. Let's hope that that functions. I basically have one of those little battery packs that's, goes into the camera, and the little connection's been failing. So I think I'm going to order another one on Amazon today, because obviously that's going to be a problem. We discovered it Saturday night when I was streaming over on twitch.tv/blindrun if you want to stop by over there. That aside, let's go ahead and start getting into the topics. Remember, this weekend we have the second phase of the Great Ethereum hash rate migration, where we will be moving to Ergo, basically everybody in the group. You can check out the link down in the description for the Discord and head on over there, join, and then the whole deal is set up and ready to go. So hopefully this week we'll also be talking a lot about Ergo because, well, we're going to be migrating to it. So definitely, if you're interested in Ergo and that sort of thing, make sure you have those notifications on. And remember, we have a separate channel now for the clips. So if you're worried about notifications and then getting basically double notified for repeat content, you no longer have to worry about that on this primary channel. And if you prefer clips or just want to support the channel and what we do here, definitely head on over and subscribe to the Clips channel. We have to reach 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers before it can be monetized. And that will be much appreciated for your support there, because this channel, now that we're kind of reorganizing all of that, it means that currently the revenue on YouTube is going to be down just as we get everything kind of sorted and organized. And hopefully that helps your viewing experience as well. Let's get into LML Miner version 1.51a right here. And let's get the alerts turned off. Thank you for the follow over on Twitch. All right, so LML Miner version 1.5a improved and fixed NVIDIA memory management, allowing dual mining in Windows to run for more epochs on 6 GB cards. And they updated the web GUI, showing light hash rate unlock percentage and dual factor. Light hash rate unlock percentage and dual factor now provided per GPU in the API. Now, this released 3 days ago. It doesn't seem to have essentially a ton of improvements. I'm not too worried about it. Let me know though if you tried it out and there's a particular place where it outperforms everything else. Obviously, we report on the new miner releases every day here so that people are aware when they come out, and then hopefully throughout the week we get information on the testing. So we do have a new basically release from T-Rex as of yesterday, 26.4. The light hash rate unlock for the 3080 12 GB and RTX 3050 at 90%. Remember, NB Miner has already done this, and they did this, I believe last week, was it? Something like that. And we already have done the testing on the RTX 3050. Here, I do not have a 12 GB 3080 for testing, but I've heard some good reports on that as far as the 90% unlock too. It's not too bad on the 3050, but there are still better options, at least until we get a full 100% unlock release. And it is what it is, right? So definitely you can go check out my video on the RTX 3050 for that 90% hash rate unlock. I'll give it a shot on T-Rex as well and see if T-Rex performs a little bit better or not on as opposed to NB Miner, and we'll go from there. But speaking of NB Miner, we also have a new version from them, version 42, released 5 hours ago, and quite a few different changes here. A feature is that they added ET hash, extend light hash rate unlocker work with old driver versions. All previous drivers should, except 515.x and newer. They also fixed ET hash, improved LHR unlocker stability under Linux. Some optimizations, ET hash small hash rate improvement on NVIDIA GPUs. Now that's interesting. What does a small hash rate improvement equate to? I would assume probably less than 1%. Otherwise, they'd be bragging about it a lot more, but who knows? Feature, they added GDDR6X memory temperature in summary table for Linux. They added GPU RAM type and GPU RAM vendor in log. Tons of nice little quality of life improvements here. Added the NVIDIA driver version in the summary table. And if overclock applies through NB Miner, reset settings to stock when miner exits. Feature, the -MT option on Windows does not require custom drivers anymore. Admin privilege is required though. Note, they say NB Miner versions older than 39.5, not included, will run into issues with when ETH reaches Epoch 520, approximately mid-September. I think we're going to have a lot more problems in mid-September. But thanks for letting us know, NB Miner. I think we're going to have much larger issues with Ethereum come mid-December or September. But that, who knows, right? Maybe not. But obviously, you guys know that according to the developers of Ethereum, we are looking at an August merge potentially. Even if we don't get an August merge, we are going to be experiencing basically longer block times, more difficulty on the network over the next few months. There's going to be a lot of issues that start popping up, not only from the miner perspective, but from the end user perspective as well on Ethereum, just due to the difficulty bomb and of course, longer block times and etc. So it's going to get interesting. I'm also curious how longer block times end up affecting, of course, fees and such, especially with large NFT drops and so on. If the block times are long and people are rushing through, are the fees going to get jacked way high? That could be some light at the end of the tunnel, of course, for the miners to a certain extent, because, well, the more fees, the more the miners make, right? Let's talk about AMD Ryzen 7000 Raphael, official world's first 5 nanometer CPU at over 5 gigahertz, up to 16 Zen 4 cores, over 15% performance boost, launching in fall of 2022. So we have a new CPU launch coming from AMD. AMD Ryzen 7000 Raphael desktop CPUs will be the world's first 5 nanometer chips powered by the Zen 4 core architecture, as officially introduced by the Red Team. During their Computex 2022 keynote, Dr. Lisa Su, CEO of AMD, confirmed some new details regarding the next generation platform and its performance uplift versus the Ryzen 5000 Zen 3 lineup. The AMD Ryzen 7000 processors will be powered by the brand new Zen 4 core architecture, which is going to be a total architecture overhaul. The CPUs will retain the chiplet design along with the high core counts. AMD hasn't confirmed anything in terms of specifications, but it is stated that they will be powered by TSMC's 5 nanometer process node and are designed for gamers first. The Ryzen 7000 CPUs will utilize 2 Zen 4 CCDs, which is short for core complex dies, based on TSMC 5 nanometer process, and a singular IO die IOD, which is fabricated on TSMC's 6 nanometer process node. Here's some of the key features: up to 16 Zen 4 cores and 32 threads, over 15% performance uplift in single-threaded applications. That's much needed, especially to compete with, of course, Intel on the gaming side. Brand new Zen 4 CPU cores, IPC and architectural improvements. Brand new TSMC 5 nanometer process node with 6 nanometer IOD. Support on AM5 platform with LGA 1718 socket, dual channel DDR5 memory support, 28 PCIe lanes, CPU exclusive, which is pretty cool, and 105 to 120 watt TDPs. Upper bound range will be 170 watts. That really sounds pretty good overall. The next generation Zen 4 based Ryzen CPU desktop CPUs, there we go. I'm not dyslexic, don't worry about it, will be codenamed Raphael and will replace the Zen 3 based Ryzen 5000 desktop CPUs that are codenamed Vermeer. Since these will be the standard Zen 4 powered chips, we expect to see up to 16 cores and 32 threads. They're just going through basically all of the key points. Over here, though, we are interested in this. We are going to get a 15% single-threaded performance gain over Zen 3 and hit clock speeds of around 5 gigahertz as demoed by them at CES 2022. It featured an undisclosed 7000 CPU running at 5 gigahertz across all cores, core count not mentioned, which means that single-thread clock speeds would be beyond 5 gigahertz. I am hearing through the grapevine that they are hitting 5.5 gigahertz on air. Just to be clear, that is a rumor that I heard. I'm not absolutely positive of that, but that is pretty awesome. The CPUs will come equipped with the RDNA 2 iGPU, which would be usable through HDMI 2.1, FRL, and DisplayPort DP 1.4 connectors on the latest AM5 motherboards. And that's going to be interesting. I'm wondering if all of the GPUs come with an iGPU now. that would definitely put them, I guess, on par at the low end with essentially Intel. That would be kind of curious. Previously, obviously, all the Ryzen CPUs, for the most part, when they initially launch, have no iGPU capability. And then basically it's called APUs for specifically for AMD in the past. And then the APUs would have some sort of graphics integrated into the processor itself. This is sounding like we may be getting basically graphics processing in all the CPUs potentially. The AMD Ryzen 7000 desktop CPUs will feature a perfect square shape at 45 by 45 millimeters, but will house a very chunky integrated heat spreader or IHS. The CPUs will be the same length, width, and height of the existing Ryzen desktop CPUs and are sealed across the sides, so applying thermal paste won't fill the interior of the IHS with TIM, thermal interface material. That's also why current coolers will be fully compatible with the Ryzen 7000 chips, which is awesome news. One of the things that AMD, was working on was keeping that AM4 platform for generations to come. And yeah, they've kind of failed on that a little bit here and there. Basically not having full backwards compatibility as originally anticipated, but that's kind of par for the course in my humble opinion. I think they've done the best job of, obviously any manufacturer of CPUs or designer or whatever, right? Like as far as like that goes, I think they've done a great job as keeping the ecosystem the same, and coolers are compatible. I haven't had to upgrade my water blocks for AM4 ever. Like, that's kind of nice. I don't have to keep buying new water blocks. Whereas, if I buy a new Intel CPU, I keep having to buy a brand new water block to throw on the wet bench, which is annoying because they're expensive. As for TDP requirements, the AMD AM5 CPU platform will feature 6 different segments, starting with the flagship 170-watt CPU class, which is recommended for liquid coolers 280 millimeter or higher. It looks like this will be an aggressively clocked chip with higher voltages and with CPU overclocking support. This segment is followed by the 120-watt TDP CPUs, which are recommended to utilize a high-performance air cooler. Interestingly, the 45 to 105-watt variants are listed as SR1, SR2A, and SR4 thermal segments, which means they would require standard heatsink solutions when running in a stock configuration, so not much else is required to keep them cool. As for launch, the AMD Ryzen 7000 desktop CPUs are said to launch this fall, which means the earliest we are going to see the chips in action is September of 2022. September is going to be an interesting month, isn't it? We're going to find out so much. We're going to learn so much. There's crazy new architectural releases, obviously, on the CPU side, on the GPU side coming. We have tons of craziness within, of course, cryptocurrency, the threat of the merge. It's going to be a fun month. I hope you guys are ready to buckle in with me and go check it out because I'm excited. It is definitely surprising since motherboard makers are mostly ready with their upcoming X670E and X670 and B560 offerings and are now being unveiled. The new platform will enable both DDR5 and PCIe Gen 5 support for the first time on an AMD CPU-powered platform. So there you go. We have new CPU releases from AMD coming in September. And that's going to be, like I said, a fun month. So GameStop unveils crypto and NFT wallet. Shares jumped 3%. That's not really that much. But I guess in the current stock market, it's not bad, right? So let's go ahead and take a look. A beta version of the self-custodial Ethereum wallet is now available for download from GameStop's website. And I definitely am going to try to check this out at some point today. But video game retailer GameStop GME has unveiled a digital asset wallet for storing, sending, and receiving crypto and non-fungible tokens ahead of the launch of its NFT marketplace later this year. A beta version of the self-custodial Ethereum wallet is now available to download from GameStop's website. The wallet will enable gamers to send and receive in-game assets without having to leave their web browsers. GameStop, in its fourth quarter quarter earnings report in March, announced its plans to start an NFT marketplace by the end of July. The firm partnered with Layer 2 system Immutable X for its marketplace, which will sit atop the Ethereum blockchain. Shares of GameStop, which trade on New York Stock Exchange, were up 2.67% at $98.21 in pre-market trading. Now, obviously, Immutable X is a great partner because they do basically already have experience with gaming and NFTs with Gods Unchained, which is basically a tradable card game that utilizes obviously NFT. What do we call it? Technology. What do we call it? Is it a technology? I guess it's a technology. Anyways, you know, they utilize non-fungible tokens to basically determine your ownership of particular cards within the game, and then if you basically own that card within your Immutable X wallet or whatever, at that point you can utilize it in game and play against other people with the potential to obviously earn more to play the game and buy new cards, etc. The profitability on it, just playing it early on, was really good, but it has definitely slowed down. So if you're looking for a pure play to earn experience, it's not that good. If you're looking for a pure fun experience, I'd say as far as Gods Unchained goes, in my humble opinion, it's pretty fun, but kind of basic, and I would rather play Magic the Gathering. So that's me personally as a gamer, what I would lean towards. That being said, you know, it's a cool idea, and I think obviously like the GameStop partnership with them makes a lot of sense. I'll definitely be checking out the wallets and definitely hit the, I gotta stop saying that word, but hit the notification bell if you're interested in it. I'll try to get a wallet review out. I don't have high hopes for it, frankly, but you know, maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll be able to self-custody. I highly doubt that's the case, but you know, it is what it is. In more cryptocurrency adoption news, which the cryptocurrency adoption news this week has been pretty fantastic, by the way. I'm really excited to see it all. Despite the markets, the adoption is definitely going up, which can only be good news for the future, right? And Shopify has taps Crypto.com to enable crypto acceptance for the merchants despite recent volatility. Shopify partners with Crypto.com, enabling customers to pay merchants with over 20 different cryptocurrencies. And now I have a Shopify account. I had been selling t-shirts on it back in 2018 along with stickers. I may spin it back up because it has everything tied to it that I would need just to play around with it and see how this functions. They're offering Crypto.com Pay can help Shopify merchants shore up customer loyalty and potentially increase spending. And Insider Intelligence publishes hundreds of insights, charts, and forecasts on the payments and commerce industry. Now, some of the other things that are really interesting here that are coming along is that there's a lot of like play to earn stuff that's coming along. There's a lot of adoption, obviously, with payment systems like this. One of the things I saw as well is like this idea of basically creating a gym that allows people to earn cryptocurrency while working out. There's a lot of like cool stuff that's going on. I think we're going to see a ton more adoption coming down the pipeline. Once again, kind of regardless of the price of the markets. And that could be obviously due to the institutional investment that we've seen as of this last super cycle. And I'm curious to see how the markets respond to it prior to the 2025 halving of Bitcoin. China can't seem to stop Bitcoin mining, though. We reported on this last week. Reported hash rate fell to 0 for 2 months in China last year, but has since returned rather abruptly. Last week, Cambridge University's Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, CCAF, released an update to its heavily cited, and rightfully so, Cambridge Bitcoin Electricity Consumption Index, which in part looks to uncover and share the geographic location breakdown of Bitcoin miners globally. The previous Cambridge update showed that China's share of mining went from 34.3% in June of 2021 to 0% in July of 2021 following a crypto mining ban in the country. Last week's update showed that China's share of mining went from 0% in August of 2021 to 22.3% in September of 2021. Clearly something is up here, so let's dive in. While we are there, we'll also touch on two other Bitcoin mining related topics, hash price and mining company woes. And these two we've kind of been covering. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think I know what we're going to be taking a look at here, which is price per hash rate going up, right? I'm assuming. And then, of course, mining companies basically reducing shares, not utilizing public funding or anything like that to purchase more equipment and moving towards more debt. Those are, if I had to take a guess, and I haven't read the rest of this article, so let's get into it. China. China banned Bitcoin mining in May of 2021, and it showed up in the data. By July, there were virtually no miners or mining in China. None in August either. Then in September, almost all the miners who left came back. At least that's what the data shows. Here's the evolution of mining country share. And then I believe you got this big purple one, United States, blowing up. And then now this yellow one is China. And it went bloop, boom, right there. You see it? You see it? Perhaps it's not obvious, so I'll say it. That didn't happen. Moving mining operations isn't exactly easy, and I would tend to agree. The bulk of mining operations isn't a handful of hobbyists messing around. Bitcoin has long since graduated from that. Most miners are more properly characterized as commercial operations, paying triple net leases for warehouses, and depending on fancy power purchase agreements for electricity. Bitcoin mining operations look like this, and then they have a photo. The reason the data looks like this is due to the data collection method employed by the CCAF. The CCAF partnered with Bitcoin mining pools to collect geolocational mining facility data based on IP addresses. Pools allow a lot of different miners to contribute to mining, and the reward is then split among them according to their processing contribution to smooth out individual miner income. Therein lies the issue, and the CCAF warns as much, stating, quote, "It is no secret in the industry that miners in certain locations use virtual private networks or proxy services to hide their IP addresses in order to obfuscate their location. Such behavior may distort the sample and result in an overestimation or underestimation, a grossly underestimation in this particular case, of hash rate in some provinces or countries." Totally makes sense. So the real story: 1, Chinese miners were afraid that the government crackdown was serious, so they lied or spoofed their location data and moved underground. 2, after some time, Chinese miners realized, hey, this doesn't seem that scary, so they felt comfortable sharing their real data. That's it. Like I suggested, actually quite boring. That's not really the whole truth, though. The most visible Bitcoin mining operations or operators did move at least part of their operations, and the growth of non-China, mostly US located mining is well documented. To highlight that, the hash rate computational power of the Bitcoin network has grown 40% since the China ban. The CCAF, recognizing the oddity of the data, published a wonderfully titled blog post about their update, leaving us with this, quote, "Most notably, however, is China's apparent comeback. Following the government ban in June of 2021, reported hash rate for the entire country effectively plummeted to 0 during the months of July and August. Yet, reported hash rate suddenly surged back to 30.47 exahash a second in September, instantly capitulating China to second place, or catapulting. I don't know why I thought it was going to say that. I paused and I'm like, what? Catapulting China to second place globally in terms of installed mining capacity, 22.29% of the total market. This strongly suggests that significant underground mining activity has formed in the country, which empirically confirms what industry insiders have long been assuming. The operative word here being reported. So yeah, it turns out that China can in fact ban Bitcoin mining again. Here's to more China FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt in our future. Alternatively, maybe everyone is messing with us and using VPNs to change their location to China to make my job difficult. And that would be kind of funny too. Amid falling Bitcoin prices, there is also some concern around Bitcoin miners and their profitability. There is a metric developed by Luxor Technologies called hash price, which represents the expected value of mining. Hash price is expressed as $1 per terahash per day, a terahash being the computational power provided by mining equipment. Here's how the last month has fared for hash price. It looks like it's going down, so that could be good news, right? Right? It's been going up for a long time. Hash price has trended down due to 1, the USD price of Bitcoin falling, and 2, more miners coming online, and 3, subsequent increased network difficulty. So, all right. Okay. I don't think that this is specifically, this is hash price is expressed as $ per terahash per day, a terahash being the computational provided. So that's the amount they're making, right? What I thought we were going to see was the price of the price of terahash on a unit, right? So not exactly rosy, but it makes sense. And the decline is acting as forcing function for mining operators to buckle down or shut down. Many industry practitioners are warning that this is the time when only the strong will survive. I tend to agree with that. In theory, miners turn off their machines whenever Bitcoin prices drop significantly, and it becomes unprofitable to keep them running. This time, even though hash price has decreased, we haven't seen this sort of drop off, and we've been talking about this a lot. So just kind of confirming what we've been talking about on this channel for the past month or so. And it is what it is. It's interesting. Public miners have all publicly repped to something along the lines of, quote, "We are mining Bitcoin. We want to mine more Bitcoin. We are going to hold as much Bitcoin we mine as possible, and we're going to use other sources of capital to fund operations and growth," end quote. That could be fine, but as these miners feel more pressure, there are potential obligations to capital providers they might have to answer to. On top of that, if the market gets worse, these companies may need to do something like start selling their Bitcoin. These aren't companies with the balance sheets of Apple or Google. They're more closely resemble startups that happen to trade on the public markets. All said, there is no particular reason to worry about the mining industry as a whole. Bitcoin mining will be fine, but the cast of characters might change since the capital markets are available up until the moment they aren't. Bitcoin will be better for it, but there might be some pain coming at the company level. And I tend to agree, and I think that it is needed. And really, honestly, to a certain extent, the market downturn, the crypto winter, the bear market, in my humble opinion, from the miner's perspective, and if we take into consideration, essentially the distribution of hash rate, the way the mining companies are functioning and so on, this needs to happen so we can weed out some of these companies that took large amounts of money from the public to build their mining operations. And if they took bad loans and investments, then that is also something that they need to answer for, right? In their models, I would be surprised, at least the good ones, the good models should have basically had some sort of worst case scenario for the bear market. And if they didn't, I'd be shocked, frankly. But, I don't have any insider info on any of these large Bitcoin mining companies per se. Now, as the title says, a big old blow up causing a fire in a New York mining farm. This is coming from CoinDesk. First a hum and then a bang. Niagara Falls residents forced to reckon with crypto mining. The city in New York has imposed a moratorium on new Bitcoin mining operations as complaints about noise were compounded by an explosion and fire at a mining site last week. An explosion and subsequent fire rocked a Block Fusion crypto mining facility in upstate New York last week, resulting in thousands of mining rigs going offline. About 3 miles away, another Bitcoin mine owned by US Bitcoin Corp had previously drawn the ire of some residents for being too noisy. The result, the city of Niagara Falls has imposed a moratorium on new Bitcoin mining operations while it works on ordinances to control impact of mining on the local community. The new laws will likely include zoning requirements, which makes sense, to ensure crypto mines aren't too close to residential areas. Niagara Falls Mayor Robert Restaino, something like that, Restaino, I don't know why I want to go, told CoinDesk in a phone interview on Thursday, quote, "We have what we think is the final draft of the proposed change," end quote, the mayor said. As for the next steps, he said the draft will go to the city planning board before it goes to the city council for a final vote. Most residents near the Block Fusion site told CoinDesk they had heard the explosion but weren't too alarmed at the time, and said the resulting fire was put out quickly. Teresa Chappelle, who lives about 1/3 of a mile away, said she not only heard but also felt the explosion inside her home. At the time, she was having dinner with her children in her yard, which was a direct view to the Block Fusion facility about 400 yards away. Marlene said the explosion was terrifying to her and her kids, and she rushed them inside to avoid inhaling the fumes. Now, okay. That's fine. That's fine. These kinds of explosions, though, were actually a more common occurrence several years ago when the site was still operating as a power plant, she said. Marlene posted photos from the incident on her personal Facebook page, which indicate the date of the explosion as May 10th. Block Fusion USA is a New York City-based company, and the mining rigs it hosts at the Niagara Falls site belong to NASDAQ-listed Bit Digital, which reported the incident in a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Thursday. Bit Digital noted that power was cut off for 2,515 Bitcoin miners and 710 Ethereum miners. Ooh, we have a number of ASIC Ethereum miners in production right there. Did we see a drop on May 10th, too? I don't remember. It was a while ago. Have to look back further. May 10th. Trying to remember. All right. That's fine. Wrong one. There we go. But the explosion and the fire didn't seriously damage the machines or the building. The company placed blame for the explosion with, quote, faulty equipment owned by the power utility, end quote, and said it intends, along with Block Fusion, to pursue claims, including seeking reimbursement for lost revenue. How this gets resolved between the utility and its customer, I think, will be the subject of an awful lot of discussion. Adding that he added that the fire department wasn't called for an investigation on the site and simply responded to the incident. The police department wasn't involved, the mayor's office said. The city's biggest concern, he said, is that such facilities operate in line with local law, particularly with regard to electrical services and permitting. Quote, that's really been the failure on the part of many of these crypto miners, end quote, he said. Look. There's a Bitcoin miners they just want you to leave them alone. That's all. This is interesting. I am curious on how this particular lawsuit will take place between, I guess, what is the power company and the mining company, because that's always a question of, essentially power delivery. And then making sure that you're not overutilizing and so on. And I'm curious whose fault it really was, because it's saying faulty equipment owned by the power utility. So they're talking about faulty equipment from the power company, not faulty equipment from them. But then were they overburdening the power company's hardware, right? And were they keeping track of that? Was all of it like following 80% rule? Were all those safety precautions put into place? So on and so forth. Or were they potentially using, faulty ASIC mining panels.com panels or PDUs, and that could have caused some of the issues as well. It's always kind of this is one of those worst case scenario, biggest problems you can have as a miner, especially a large miner, that you need to be cognizant of. And that's even within your home, right? So that's why I would never suggest doing electrical work yourself. You want to get a good electrician in. You want to make sure that you're paying them. You want to make sure that you get the power company to come out and inspect. You want to cover your butt as far as all of that goes, because if something like that happens and it's on you because you went ahead and upgraded the electrical panel yourself, or, installed whatever, a plug, whatever it may be, and something happens, you're not going to get covered, right? Especially like if you're doing it out of your house, like you want to be extremely careful, make sure you're getting that homeowner's insurance coverage, because you've definitely followed the 80% rule, meaning don't utilize more than 80% of whatever that circuit is capable of, etc. So let's get into this one first. Computer scientists unveil rapid energy efficient Bitcoin mining algorithms. This is interesting. So Quantum Blockchain has unveiled a new Bitcoin mining algorithm that improves the current crypto mining hardware through increased speed and energy efficiency. In a press release on May 23rd, the company stated that the development has resulted in the first two knowledge-based algorithms that govern the SHA-256 computation. According to the firm, it has now moved to live experiments of Bitcoin mining through the standard version of the SHA-256 algorithm, with Quantum seeking to collect real-time data to reinforce the company's existing database. The results were attained through a test dubbed Method A. The team also deployed another testing dubbed Method B. The knowledge-based mining approach requires the deployment of a proprietary ASIC chip. So you're looking at, essentially from your perspective as a miner, you're looking for the release of a new ASIC miner on the horizon. And if it is going to be extremely efficient and so on, I think obviously you're going to want to be careful about purchasing these $8,000 to $10,000 ASIC units that are currently on the market for mining Bitcoin. Based on these test success, it will improve the current Bitcoin mining theory of commercial ASIC chips. Already, theoretical analysis is showing improvement, but Quantum notes that experimental testing needs to confirm the results. Quantum also confirmed ongoing tests of the quantum version of the SHA-256 algorithm. The company is set to file another patent upon theoretical confirmation based on the outcome. Francesco Gardin, something like that, the CEO and executive chairman of QBT, explained the company's progress in improving existing mining hardware. And according to him, quote, "At the same time, we continue to improve chip design of ASIC-based traditional mining by optimizing the SHA-256 algorithm and its silicon implementation. Our quantum computing team has now successfully achieved its first correct quantum computation of a reduced size version SHA-256 and is now scaling up to the full SHA-256. The UK-based firm added that it had attained a new milestone after performing simulations on an extremely scaled down simulated quantum version of the SHA-256 algorithm. They allegedly produced exact results for the first time. Quantum highlights that it aims to monitor if the number of qubits available on the next phase of commercial quantum computers will sustain the full SHA-256 computation. The task is scheduled for the next 2 months. On publishing the subsequent results, Quantum stated that there is no specific timeline due to the complexity of the task. Finally, the quantum solution can be viewed as a significant milestone for the cryptocurrency sector, considering that Bitcoin mining has come under scrutiny for energy consumption. However, manufacturers have moved to improve current hardware handling the energy consumption shortcomings over the years. And we always talk about this. Once again, this is just an example of what we preach every time the energy problem comes up with Bitcoin. if incentivized properly, people will try to figure out a way to make things more energy efficient and save money in that way. Because your primary cost as a miner, and that's GPU mining, ASIC mining, etc., is going to be power, you are directly incentivized to reduce your power consumption. To basically expound upon that, if you were in the position of government regulation and you wanted to reduce the power or have Bitcoin power be reduced for, emissions, essentially, you would incentivize miners to move to renewable energies, and that's how you would solve the problem. Bans do not solve the problem. Incentivize people properly, and then obviously it will be resolved. And luckily, because mining is basically, like I said, directly related to the cost of power, it's a really easy problem to resolve. The other things that obviously Bitcoin mining and really any mining can contribute to is the reduction of power waste or energy waste. And that is going to become more and more relevant as we have more and more people charging electric cars, for example, where you have high usage times at night while the cars charge up and then they drop down for a period of time while they're not charging and they're being used for commuting. You want to make sure that you have basically power plants that can accommodate for that spike in power consumption. And that is why you start seeing incentives around mining where companies are working with them to say, hey, turn on your rigs now and utilize them and then shut them off here when we hit the high peaks. This is also something that's been common here now for quite a while in Texas, where you can get specific incentives for turning on your AC or turning up your AC during peak times. Is not dissimilar, and that is how you incentivize the public to basically operate correctly surrounding Bitcoin mining and crypto mining in general. And I think that's the proper solution and the direction it needs to go into. So fun stuff. Rich Dad Poor Dad stresses to save Bitcoin, gold, and guns as global disaster is unfolding. So we're going to put on a tinfoil hat, but we are also going to basically it's hard because I feel like, especially from the perspective of creating content, when I read stuff like this, it can be a little difficult to both disseminate the information, decide what is true and what is not true. How much should you worry about it? I would suggest practicing not worrying about it through practices from with stoicism, etc., but be aware of it. And this is why also we always have to follow up and make sure that this stuff is playing out as predicted. I've been a big proponent of basically educating yourself with, of course, the Sovereign Individual, which basically it goes over the digital transformation. I think this is part of the digital transformation. Personally, I will preface that by saying it's my opinion. I do not, it's not fact, right? But I lean towards some sort of struggle through this transformation, if that makes sense. Just like any other transformation that we go through as a society or as a world, a global, whatever, right? This is kind of the natural progression of humanity. You have good times, you have bad times. It doesn't mean freak out, but at the same time, also be aware of it. I have a feeling this article is going to lean heavy into these types of topics, right? So I want to preface that. In the midst of a tumultuous market in which many industry experts and investors are uncertain where to make an investment, one prominent investor is encouraging people to store Bitcoin in addition to precious metals, gold, and silver. Now, here's the big difference between gold and silver and Bitcoin. And it is basically, I would support both, I suppose, but gold and silver is going to require you to have something physical on your persons. In a really tough time, let's say where you have to leave everything behind, your houses, whatever it may be, you can't take the gold and silver with you in most cases, right? Bitcoin allows you to take it with you. However, also, if the internet goes down, you have no power and you can't access your Bitcoin, Sure, you have the paper wallet or you've memorized essentially, hopefully, your seed phrase and that sort of thing so you can travel without it. But in the event of some sort of global blackout, etc., it may be worthless from that perspective, and the gold and silver would make more sense. Just like, obviously, like practical kind of thought process, and neither one of those situations may ever come to fruition, right? Indeed, the author of the personal finance book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, took to Twitter on May 23rd to stress his thoughts on the current global market situation in light of the Davos, Switzerland event, and International Monetary Fund, IMF, warns that the globe is facing the worst financial crisis since World War II. The outspoken financial guru hinted at a potential world war coming and, in turn, advised to save gold, silver, Bitcoin, food, guns, and bullets. He tweeted, quote, May 23rd, 2022, Davos, Switzerland, IMF warns world faces the greatest financial challenges since World War II. Global disaster has been coming for years. Desperate leaders will do desperate things. World war coming, ? God have mercy on us. Save gold, silver, Bitcoin, food, guns, and bullets. Now, do I think a world war is happening? No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. If a world war is coming, do we want gold, silver, and Bitcoin? Possibly. I mean, I guess you want things that aren't going to suffer from crazy inflation or anything like that, right? I think like food, guns, and bullets make sense because like food, you eat it. Guns and bullets you can use to protect yourself as well as get more food, which is kind of the point of it. But those are all also finite, right? What would be more important than all of those things? And I'm just going to like break the barrier down for you guys because we could tell you, go get food, guns, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. But if you're a fat that can't run a mile, well, it's not going to help you much. If you can't think and you don't know how to fix a car, it's not going to help you much, right? If you can't do things physically that are going to service your community and your family, none of these things help you. So I would lean more towards improving personal skills, whether that be working on a vehicle or learning how a generator works or figuring out how to harvest rainwater or grow food. These are the things that make more sense to me. Get in good physical shape so that if you need to protect your family, you're in good enough physical shape to be able to do that. That is like, honestly, like we always like to put it on like these external things like, oh, well, if I just buy some gold and Bitcoin and a world war happens, I'll be okay. No, you won't. Like, I'm sorry, I love cryptocurrency, and I think that like after the digital transformation, that Bitcoin will be something that a lot of people use and it'll become in handy, but that's not going to get you through some sort of crazy world war or a great financial challenge and disaster, the worst we've seen since World War II. None of that will. What you know and what you can perform physically will be the things that get you through that. All right. I'm just saying. And that's not to shame anybody. That's not to like do anything like that. That is just straight the fact, like you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you've honed some skills that are going to provide you with the ability to survive if that was ever going to be a thing. Now, it's interesting that, first of all, someone I look up to, by the way, this author, Robert, is saying essentially that we are going to face great financial challenges, the greatest since World War II, from the Davos, obviously, through that or that warning. It's interesting they saying that global disaster is coming, and it definitely makes you think. Once again, trying to separate worry from preparation and being realistic about things, like it can be a taxing mentally, which is definitely something that you should work on as well, by the way. I need a lot of work on that. Don't worry. But why Bitcoin would be the other question too. I think Bitcoin makes sense because you can memorize the seed phrase and you can move freely, right? So in the case like crap hit the fan, you would be able to memorize it and move freely, and you wouldn't have to worry about things like sanctions or banks or anything like that, right? So regardless of what your geographical location is and your political affiliations and your national affiliations or whatever, Bitcoin's kind of ubiquitous as far as like moving between different societies and groups, and you can utilize that. It's not dissimilar from gold and silver. Like I said, the only positive to it is that you can memorize it and move freely. You're not burdened by a physical object. The other thing is if we go through something that is crazy, like a huge global financial disaster, then Bitcoin sticks around. Let me fix my camera again. This is fun. And it's not going to fix, is it? It may be done, boys. We got to go order a new one. There it is. Oh, and then it went away again. It has to be held in a very specific position that I'm not able to hold it in for some reason. There we go. Ah! And then I bonked my monitor with my elbow. So, that makes sense as to why he would say Bitcoin, I think, to a certain extent, right? And we've seen it being able to be sent over ham radios. We've seen it in situations like the Canadian trucker event where it was able to basically bypass some of those regulations. It will help empower the individual to basically have some sort of buying power potentially in these times, because your buying power across borders, etc., that sort of thing is going to be a lot more like difficult with like traditional currency, right? Plus you still have the physical burden of that. But like I said, I would encourage you guys, like, if this is something you really are stressing about, which first of all, I would say don't stress about it and learn to manage those maybe with stoic practices and so on, like we've talked about on this channel. But if you're really worried about it and you want to prepare, then I would lean more towards, like I said, developing some sort of skill that you would find beneficial, and then basically making sure you improve your physical health and mental health to get through this. That's how I would basically approach this personally. As much as I want to just tell everybody to buy Bitcoin, you know, right? To be as frank and clear as possible, I think that would be more beneficial for you. All righty. We just need a new battery pack, guys. I'll get it fixed. I'm going to overnight one from Amazon while we can still overnight stuff from Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Mining profitability for the day. We are going to run the ad again. I'm supposed to be running it twice. And then the ads are going to get cut down to 30 seconds, by the way. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs quickly while earning up to 8% cash back. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. All right, you guys ready to get into mining profitability for the day? So this is interesting, man. This has been extremely interesting the past few days. We have been getting incredible rewards from Crazy Pool, and more people are actually coming on to Crazy Pool, which is helping. Crazy Pool appears to, from the time I started mining on it to now, it is up 0.57 terahash. Now, why is this important? This is important because Crazy Pool functions very curiously from the payout perspective, meaning like there's a couple things that are beneficial. One is that it appears to share with the miners more than any other pool. However, the problem is it is a smaller pool, so it's directly reliant on the amount of blocks it finds. The more hash rate that comes on to Crazy Pool, I think the more the individual miners are going to get paid out, frankly. Because from what I've seen since we've started mining here, we've been getting really, really good payouts. Now, here's what's crazy. On the 22nd, for example, we did 0.07 or 0.1 ETH, right? 214 US dollars or USDT. Today, we've done 0.064 for 131, and we already have an unpaid balance of 0.056. This payout of the 0.1 happened last night. So if you look at like, will this pop it up? Yeah. So if you look here, right, 522 and then 523, 521 was a low day, right? 520 was a low day, 519 low day, but we had a big day on 518, right? So it's kind of interesting the way it's been paying out. The cost average or the revenue average is going to be interesting. So I'm going to keep following it. It's really hard to track overall, but I've been pretty happy over on Crazy Pool. Now it utilizes NiceHash protocol, so you have to adjust your miners to utilize that for the Stratum, just to be clear. But if you guys want to give it a shot, go ahead and give it a shot. We talked about this obviously last week as well. Ryo, I have a couple rigs, or just a couple cards, excuse me, on Ryo, and it's been doing good. We're almost at 500 Ryo. Paid out since we started mining with two 2080 Ti's. Let's check what to mine and the RTX 3090 and get the days going. Calculate it out. 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And here's where things get interesting, So Ethereum is back over $3 a day in revenue. Barely, right? It's at $3 flat, $2.23 a day after power. It's been a pretty rough going of it, and I think it's only going to get rougher, so just be prepared for that. Obviously, this pricing or this revenue is directly related to the increase in price we had on Ethereum this morning. So if you looked at it early this morning when the price was down, it was still under $3 a day in revenue. So just kind of pay attention to it. An interesting one, we have Bitcoin Gold popping up here, and this may be outdated, but we're seeing Zhash Bitcoin Gold at $2.31 a day, and then $1.61 a day after power. I'm kind of curious on what's going on there. Let's pop over there. 1.28 mega solutions a second. Echo hash 144.5. And it had a huge pump right here. So that's what happened. We had a 37% increase in the price of Bitcoin Gold. Do you guys know what happened on Bitcoin Gold? And for those watching later, I'm asking live chat because I don't know what happened to Bitcoin Gold. Or, is that right? I'm not seeing any specific news about it. Well, I'll look this one up a little bit later. Let's go ahead and continue on. I don't have any, there's no particular news. we just see this crazy 41% increase in price. At like 6:47 a.m. it went to $30. It's back down to like 26.87, but still. It's definitely unusual in the current market as well. Then we have Conflux at $2.24 a day in revenue and $1.44 a day after power. Cero at $2.12 a day in revenue and $1.33 a day after power. Equilibria at $2.04 a day in revenue and $1.42 after power. Rio at $2.03 in revenue and $1.40 a day after power. And Ethereum Classic $2.01 a day before power and $1.24 a day after power. Definitely a pump in Ethereum Classic as well. Ravencoin $1.92 a day in revenue and $1.13 a day after power. And Ergo $1.91 a day in revenue with $1.29 a day after power, obviously because it takes less power than Ravencoin. Flux is pretty low, but we do need to go ahead and fix this to make sure it's at least somewhat accurate. What's Flux at? Flux, once again, through NiceHash, is paying out more at $1.44 a day after power than Flux directly, which is $1.37 a day after power. Most likely influenced once again by the noding. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin and check the hash rate on there. We already looked at Ethereum today. Bitcoin's at 235 exahash a second. It's up about 2 exahash a second from Friday. Ethereum, we already did look, but let's go ahead and just state it. We're at 1.09 petahash a second, which is up from, of course, Friday, I think by a little bit. No, it's still the same. So still the same from Friday. Slight increases on Ethereum Classic, probably due to the price increase here of 11% up to 23.31. And as you can see, it is also correlating to the hash rate. So Ethereum Classic still kind of following the traditional increase in hash rate with the increase of price. Let's take a look at Flux. Flux is at 1.57 mega solutions a second. It's up only 2% today. The difficulty has dropped though on Flux pretty significantly from Friday at around 37 to today around 27. So the difficulty is down on Flux. That may be important for some with RTX 3000 series GPUs. Let's take a look at Ergo. Ergo is at 15.48 terahash a second, and the difficulty is about to go back down, which should be perfect timing for our test. Now, we've talked about this a lot. The problem is the difficulty delay. So the hash rate goes up, but the difficulty doesn't adjust for a few days. You can usually see this obviously where so it was down on April 17th and then it took a while till I don't know, a few days before it started pumping back up, and then people jump off, and kind of makes it difficult for miners to really judge where they're at with Ergo. That's why Ergo is going to be one of the first tests, because we're curious on how it's going to impact that network when a lot of hash rate moves over to it. Ravencoin, 2.74 terahash a second. And the difficulty settled back out, had a bit of a bigger dip in diff, and then came back up. And then that Bitcoin Gold, tell me what's going on with that hash rate. We just looked at this, but let's look at that again. 1.29 mega solutions a second. No huge change. This does look like rental hash rate. Difficulty is down, price is way up. Mining pools. Profitability. 100 mega hash. Past 90 days. Mining pool hub in first. F2 pool in second. Crazy pool in third. Last 60 days, Crazy Pool in first, Ether Mine in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 30 days, Crazy Pool in first, Ether Mine in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 21 days, Ether Mine in first, Crazy Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 14 days, Crazy Pool in first, Ether Mine in second, Nano Pool in third. Last 7 days, Crazy Pool in first, Nano Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 3 days, Crazy Pool in first, F2 Pool in second, Crux Pool in third. And last day, Crazy Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Crux Pool in third. Crazy Pool's looking for group, boys. They only lost one period, which was the last 21 days. We're looking for group. Come join us before we do the migration again. ASIC miner profitability. Gold shell KD6, $36 a day. AM miner L7, $30 a day. Gold shell KD5, $23.87 a day. I thought we were going to see some weirdness from an Equihash, but maybe not. Double check. Nothing there. Let's scroll down. S19 Pro, $7.31 a day. Bitcoin mining is getting absolutely slaughtered and impossible to get into. Any sales from BT miners? Use the affiliate links down below. We are seeing sales. The S19 Pro has dropped to $7,790 US. We see, let's see what else on here. The Watts miner has also dropped to $7,834. The S19 995 terahash down to $5,790. We're starting to see the price of ASICs come down. Are they at the bottom yet? This isn't financial advice, and actually it wouldn't matter anyways because I can't tell you. We do seem to still be seeing, of course, an increase of hash rate on the Bitcoin network, regardless of the price of Bitcoin. The sentiment surrounding that is that, of course, like most of these companies are taking out loans to continue to expand. We recently had an increase in the estimation of amount of hash rate that will be put onto the network this year. It's hard to read, but we are seeing prices come down. Not quite the same as we are seeing with GPUs, but we are seeing the prices come down. Let's get into questions and answers. I don't have a ton of time. Remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated. Likes are always required. We have 173 likes and 456 concurrent viewers. I would encourage you to hit that like button right now. Do it, do it, do it. I would like 228 likes. That would be cool. Tagging at Son of a Tech will turn the message orange and be easier to read. We also have no super chats today, surprisingly. Wes says, at Son of a Tech, I think you should hold both. And he's referring to Bitcoin and silver. You don't have to have huge gold bars. A few ounces of gold can easily be carried, and then use it to barter for internet so you can access your Bitcoin later. Perfect, my dude. Martin says, at Son of a Tech, you can use GoPro. I do it all the time. Thanks. I just need a new battery pack. Leonardo says, at Son of a Tech, can you check the 100 mega hash a second earning on Crazy Pool? I believe we do that every day, Leonardo. Detroit Iris says, at Son of a Tech, is Ryo as tough on GPUs as Flux and Raven? No, it's pretty easy because it's just Crypto Night GPU. So it's pretty easy on them. Detroit Irish says Ethereum Classic price was up over 10% this morning too. Yep, we checked that. It was 11% as of the recording this live show. Nicholas Kane says, at Son of a Tech, I see on Crazy Pool you get paid extra like the jackpot if you find the block. Yes, you do. You get 0.1 for that as well. I have been checking the jackpots. I haven't hit personally a jackpot yet. I look forward to it though, and we will definitely talk about it when I do. Detroit Irish says, at Son of a Tech, Ergo testing Friday only or all weekend? It will be a 72-hour test because we need that data for the difficulty adjustment on Ergo specifically. We have a super chat from Juan, 500 DOP. I don't even know what that is, man. I'm sorry. I need to learn all. I'm such an American. Red Panda Mining in the chat too, guys. He said he'd like 420 likes. You know, it is what it is. But one said, great work, man. Keep it up. Thanks, my dude. I don't know why I'm saying my dude. I probably watched too much speed tripping this weekend. Pioneer Smokehouses says, at Son of a Tech, I am holding a little bit of flux in Ergo that I am mining during the hash rate migration. My goal is to give value. Do you think if we all hold a small amount, this could have a value effect? That's an interesting thought. What I would recommend, because what we want is that in the worst case scenarios, people are able to pay their power bills and still have some sort of profit. So what I think for affecting the networks, if I was going to say, what should you do, right, is basically calculate out what you would have earned on Ethereum, and then go ahead, send it to an exchange that supports whatever we're mining. So in this case, Ergo, Kraken, I believe, supports it. We'll go over all this later. And list it for the price that you would have earned mining Ethereum instead. And if all the miners list it at that price, it should start shifting that, and then people will see the effect of the mining, right? What would be interesting to see is how much that increases the volume as well. And it would be purely experimental, and I don't know that we can get everybody to do that. But the goal essentially would be to bring up the price to the point to where you would need it if you were, still trying to keep your operations profitable. End of story would be, don't sell it at a loss, meaning don't sell it for less than you paid in power to mine it at the very least, right? So if you need to hold it for longer for that, then you hold it for longer for that. Aiden, thanks for the $100 Mexico dollar. Is that right? Any thoughts on Dogecoin going proof of stake? It would be silly. No thoughts on it. I don't think that it'll go to proof of stake anytime soon. Boy Matthew says, what camera are you using now? The Sony a6000. I want the new one, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Forget what it's called now, but the new full frame. But this is fine for now. We need to work on some lighting. And then it's a Sigma 16mm lens. Raymond says, Tech, is Avalon 1166 a good miner? I don't know in particular. Kevin says, Tech, if you get back into Gods Unchained again, we should spar. Sounds good, man. IATG 2001 says, Tech, what do you think about Beam or Cortex? I think it is a Cortex. CTXC is Cortex, right? CTXC is the Cortex one, which is the AI, right? I kind of have a feeling that Flux will be more influential in the AI realm than Cortex will be. Which obviously it still has a long way. Both of them have a long ways to go. I think Cortex is obviously developing towards it. As far as Beam, I have no strong opinions on Beam. Juan says, Tech, Dominican pesos around $10. There you go. That's the DOP abbreviation. Texas A says, Tech, I wish there were more pools like 2 miners that auto-converted coins to Bitcoin. My plan is to also use NiceHash for the Ergo test. Easier than trying to convert it myself. You might have trouble renting out hash rate for Ergo when we all move. Just a thought. Most people will probably be renting out Ethereum or try that again. Red Panda says MMO stars. Heck yeah. Helix 8D Music says, Son of a Tech, invest in a hardware or hold. That's up to you. I don't hold crypto though. It's like, I've talked about this a lot before. I am interested in generating revenue, right? Wes says, Son of a Tech, my profits have gone down almost $1 a day for the last 3 days. Womp womp. Minor Illusion says, that's time to take the great hodl. Everyone holds a tiny bit. I think the great listing would be more beneficial, like I was talking about earlier, than the great hodl. Because especially on these smaller coins, if the traders in there go in and they start seeing that there's a whole bunch of puts at much higher prices, I think it's going to have an influence over the perception of what that currency is worth. And yes, we're small GPU miners, but remember, miners do influence the price to a certain extent, and we have to do our part to influence it. Knowledge is Power says, as Tech, do you see GPU mining continuing on well into the future, or will GPU mining become obsolete? Sorry if this is a dumb question. I'm still a mining noob. So every single time we go through these phases, it's pretty similar, right? Like even Bitcoin at one point was mineable on a GPU, then ASICs get developed, and then so on. Most new projects go through basically the same phases for the most part, unless they're just a proof of stake from the bat, which actually even the proof of stake coins are learning that they need to do proof of work in the beginning. Hence why you have TON for distribution, as well as, what was the latest one? IXI, I think, is also doing that. So at the end of the day, mining has the most fair distribution method, or is the most fair distribution method. And even proof of stake needs a distribution method that distributes it out for people to then stake. Meaning that as coins develop, if they want to have good public perception, they will always want to have some sort of mining in the beginning before they move to proof of stake. Ideally, right? Otherwise you end up with, and we learned this during the last bull run where we had a lot of the IPOs, the airdrops, shit like that. A lot of those coins went away. A lot of those projects went away. Most of them were a disaster. Most likely were from specifically this type of behavior. So a lot of the newer projects that have been around through a bear market that are trying to move to proof of stake, or that, they will be having some sort of GPU mining. It does mean that from the perspective of a GPU miner, no matter what, things are going to get really, really hard, right? So it's not going to be set everything up, point at Ethereum, call it a day, right? It's not going to be set it all up, point it, more than likely, unless something changes with price discovery and volume and blah, 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 and all of that, unless something changes there, you're not even going to just set it up on Flux or Ethereum Classic, set it and forget it and walk away. You're going to be having to adapt and move around, and spec mining is probably going to come back into play here. Speculative mining, things like IXI, like Caspa, so on and so forth, so that you can kind of be profitable. And some of that is going to just be risk, right? I think what happens is that GPU mining becomes extremely more risky, which does mean, from the perspective of the people that remain in GPU mining, it becomes much more rewarding potentially, right? So with great risk comes great reward, that sort of thing. A lot of the people are going to just get cut out right away. Like that's gonna happen. And it's going to hit the channel too, obviously. And that is just the direction that we're going to be moving in. But will it die completely? No, just by the nature of needing that distribution early on. Maxim said $10 euro super chat. Thank you, sir. Says, I think I said in an earlier stream, I'll be moving to Texas soon for work. What rates should I be aiming for to get, as I'm planning to expand my farm over in the US? So here's what's going on in the US right now, and specifically Texas. Your residential rates are going up and your commercial rates are not going up. What this means for you as somebody that is moving over is that your goal is going to be incorporating and getting, or starting a business. It can be a sole proprietorship, but it's going to be trying to get commercial rates. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that's really going to protect you from huge increases in prices. Your residential rates, pretty much when you sign up, they can change it here, and there. What you're looking for is a commercial rate that you're going to be able to lock in. And you are looking between really somewhere between 4.5 cents a kilowatt hour to 8 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on the location within Texas you're in and so on. If you're paying over that, you know, I know like commercial rates in Dallas, like metro area, for example, are higher than that. Move outside of the Dallas metro area, move the farm outside of that. There's plenty of cheap power around surrounding areas. Smaller towns are going to have cheaper rates. Towns that have the best are like small towns that have some sort of industry. And why does that matter? We talk about factories, well, even like an Amazon warehouse, something that is going to lobby with the power company for you. Because you don't really like, depending on your size, right? You're not going to have the influence. So you want somebody that utilizes a lot of power, maybe a refinery or something that is going to be lobbying the power company for you for those commercial rates, because you don't want to be getting into that, necessarily. You don't want to be having to do that yourself. Right. So that's some ways you can get it protected. MMO Star says, Asamatech saw that Darrow got a Trade Ogre listing. No, I didn't see that. That's awesome. Daniel Bowman says, Asamatech, do you see any similarities between proof of stake and a Ponzi scheme? Tinfoil hats on, please. So if we're talking about a Ponzi scam, typically you're having somebody else, like, how does this work? I guess that would be more of a pyramid scheme, right? But you're trying to influence people to buy it to essentially pump up the price for yourself, for your value, right? I wouldn't say inherently that proof of stake functions in that manner. I would say proof of stake, the biggest problem with it is it functions more like traditional finance than anything else, right? So the more you have, the more you're going to make, and the more you continue to make, right? And that's kind of where I sit with it as far as like what the problems with it are. And you basically put the power in the hands of the people that have the most. 40,000 COP. I'm rich, bitch. $40,000. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know what COP is. Says poor investor called you out on your Twitter post about Chia. Yeah, people are really upset about me and my opinion on Chia. It is what it is, man. And the thing is like, I never have a problem with, what do you call it? Look, like Bram is cool. I like doing the interview with him. It's the same problem I have with Flux though, right? Like at the end of the day, these are board-led projects that are structured in a manner for profit, and they are not structured in a manner to be overall decentralized, right? So that's just kind of the manner of it, the problem with it. And yes, I get that Chia is like, well, we have the Chia Foundation over here and it's separate from the actual coin. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I get what you're saying. You're putting that separation in there. And if you go away, the coin stays around. But we all know that the way these foundations work, case in point, which is Ethereum, that's not how it plays out. It's not how it plays out. You know what I mean? It just, look, the more time I spend in cryptocurrency, the more I treat pretty much everything but Bitcoin as a technology or a tech stock. And that's fine. We can be there. What I don't like seeing is when someone like Chia comes out and says, we're just like Bitcoin, just better. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not Bitcoin. You have a board-led, specifically like financially driven objective here. It's not the same. So just be what you are for what you are and go ahead and embrace that. And that's fine. Right. Don't try to lie to people and just tell people you're the next Bitcoin when you own and are invested and directly controlling portions of the currency. Like it's just, that's it. So when I get into Twitter conversations surrounding that, usually that's where it comes from, right? So that's how I feel about it, is what it is. MD says, ask Tech, you have a how to mine the crazy pool, or is it easy enough to change the settings? It's easy enough. You're just going to not be using like Stratum plus TCP. You're going to be using the nice hash Stratum. Keith Betts says, awesome on break, and behold, it's son of a tech. Oos, Keith. I got to go, by the way. It's 11:15. I got to get going. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bells, and I'll see you next Tuesday. I think we're going to try to look at the wallet for, what was it? The GameStop wallet tonight. Oh, we have one more super chat. I'll catch it real quick. $100, 100 Mexican dollars, I think. It says Dogecoin Foundation has proof of stake in their trail map. Do you think they'll flip the switch on miners? They could. I also have never I'm not heavily invested in Dogecoin miners. I have one L3 Plus and a mini Doge. Gandalf Gray says, ask Son of a Tech, if you suddenly had 40K today, what would you do with it? Buy Bitcoin, expand GPU, or use a Bitcoin hosting service if you can get the power? Let's see. Are those my only three options? I'd probably expand into GPUs because I'm an idiot that likes risk. I'd probably buy a shit ton I'd probably just hold it long enough to buy all of Hut 8's GPUs when they figure out that they can't mine Polygon Matic. See you next Tuesday.